Alex Gluz here. I'm the host of Revenue Engine podcast, where I talk with top leaders in business, marketing, sales, tech, and more. We have a great guest for you today. This episode is brought to you by TA Monroe Digital. At TA Monroe, we build world-class revenue engines for B2B SaaS and tech companies. We have a great guest for you today. Super excited. Hey, Catherine, nice to have you here.
Hi, Alex. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, definitely. Can you do a brief intro of who you are and what you do, please?
Sure. Catherine Solazzo. I am located in St. Petersburg, Florida, although I am from the Northeast. I could not resist leaving the snow for some sunshine. So I've been here for coming up on 6 years, and I'm currently the CMO at Appfire, which is an unbelievable company focused on apps for developers to really make them most efficient on the platforms that they're already using, like Jira and Salesforce and Monday.com. So really, really cool role. I've actually spent quite a bit of my career in the developer ecosystem. And so this was sort of like coming home for me. I've been at prior companies in the SAP ecosystem on the services side as CMO. I've worked at one of the largest distributors in the world, Tech Data, now TD SYNNEX, really overseeing both the internal marketing agency as well as all marketing for the company. And before that, 15 awesome years at IBM doing all kinds of things, which I'm sure we will get into, but really excited to be here and talk to you today.
Likewise. So one of the first things when we chatted, you coined this phrase CMO Plus, which I really liked. I think a lot of our listeners were like, hey, that's a good way to describe this, what I do. To describe your role now, most CMOs focus on brand and demand gen. What makes you take up product-related areas like documentation, release notes, and customer feedback? How did that change how you see marketing now?
I think the role of the CMO has evolved significantly, especially since my first position, leading that at the top. There's always places where there are, I would say, intersection points or areas of influence where it's always, does this belong in marketing? Does this belong in sales? Does this belong in product? And I think especially depending on the go-to-market of the company that you're operating in, it actually varies significantly. So for us right now at Appfire, having the technical documentation team in my organization allows us to own not only the top of the funnel with brand awareness and mid-funnel conversion and demand gen, but the number one touch point that we have with our customers is at implementation. When they are in the release notes, they are looking at demos, they are trying to understand how to deploy the product in their environment. And that touch point is really important to have when pushing customers back to the top of the funnel, whether that is writing a review for the product, whether that is exploring new trials. So having that end of funnel interaction and capability in my org is huge. For example, our technical documentation site, we actually just launched a new site today. So shout out to the team for doing an awesome job. We have over 1 million users coming through that site on a quarterly basis. And that is a huge opportunity for us to capture interest and tell them more about the other kinds of offerings and apps that we have. So it's very strategic in that way.
Yeah, I loved how you loop this into to make this clear why it's so important to have this alignment. So I have like a funny anecdote, so to say, but a lot of now in our agency, when we work with clients, sometimes we see that campaign is underperforming. And the problem necessarily isn't the channel, it's not even the budget, is that the messaging was built off a positioning that was written 6 months ago and never tested in the market. So the product has moved, the buyer has moved, removed, but the campaign is still running on old assumptions. So we had a client recently in email security space, great product, solid team, but their campaigns would be around the features that their product team was most proud of. We start testing different angles and found that one of the simpler product pages, one that barely anyone internally cared about, was generally leads at the lowest cost per acquisition by wide margin. Nobody in marketing knew that until the paid data surfaced this. That kind of feedback loop doesn't exist if marketing is one step removed from the product.
Absolutely. And, even we went a step further where we now have our G4 analytics deployed on this site as well, where we're getting all kinds of insights on user behavior. What are they looking at? When did they write a review? At what point in the documentation did they go search for something else? That really informs all of the other peer work that needs to happen across product marketing and demand gen. And sometimes you'd have to cross organizational boundaries to get those kinds of insights. But for us now, it's all in the same family. So very helpful.
Yeah, and you guys obviously great organization, and you definitely champion for that. But we see many marketing teams stay one step removed from product, or maybe many steps actually. What do they usually misunderstand about the product, and how does that impact their go-to-market strategy?
I think it's an exchange. For us, the product marketing function is the front door of our organization, and the give and take between product management and product marketing has to be very fluid, right? The earlier they bring in the product marketing team, the better chance we have of deploying good messaging to good audiences with really thoughtful tactics. And I think, at least on our side, on the product marketing side, we are so focused on getting things into market that we're not as connected to the product management team on understanding roadmaps and what's coming and how to prepare ahead of time and get involved early. And to the CTO's credit, my peer, he has launched a new structure for publishing roadmaps out in advance, so he and I can really team on including both teams as early as possible, both at the front end of, even if it's just a feature update, but what if it's even bigger than that and it's going to be a significant launch? I think knowing to look ahead on that product marketing side is very challenging.
Yeah, and I think it's one of the education, right? The education loop, to being able to explain it to not maybe so technical, just marketing on the brand or demand gen side. How does it look like? And same on the sales side. Not all the salespeople are super technical in nature, so you need to be able to really take your time for education and have everything aligned.
Absolutely.
Another great thing I think you mentioned, Catherine, is owning content from awareness all the way to implementation. At what point does content stop being marketing, becomes part of the product experience? Where do teams get this wrong?
Yeah. Well, I think it depends on obviously the industry you're in. If you're B2B versus B2C, I think even for us on the technical side, in-app product experience is huge for us, right? Because we're able to really have content interact directly with the end user as they're using the product. I think that's unique, of course, to the SaaS space. But for us, we are looking at full life cycle of that content. And before, where we could take, a month and write a really thoughtful piece of work, we can't do that anymore. We have to be working so incredibly fast and smart, using all of the assisted intelligence, right, of all of the AI at our disposal to react and move quickly. And now it's less about creating new and more about optimizing. So we're spending a lot of time understanding content performance, even just smaller pieces of content, intentionally at a very specific point in the buyer journey or user journey, thinking about those in parallel, not so much, okay, now this user is a user and not a buyer. Well, they're also still a potential buyer. So making sure we have enough content surrounding them at all of those different touch points, which are on domain, in product, off domain, in thought leadership forums, in physical events and spaces. So the content game has become very challenging. And I think where people get it wrong sometimes is thinking you need to create new every time there's a new requirement. And the team now has been doing a great job at cataloging, understanding what we have, how we can make multiple pieces out of a single set of messaging, being smarter with placement, leveraging LLMs. So it's really, it's a evolving space for sure.
Yeah, and we've seen something similar across a lot of our clients. So you create top of funnel campaigns, strong traffic number, leads are coming in. When the pipeline review happens and the numbers are soft, sales says the leads aren't ready, and everybody starts looking at the campaigns, but the campaigns are fine. The problem is what happens after the click. The buyer showed up wanting to understand something specific. They had the real question, real problem they're trying to solve, and all they do is get driven to a demo. So there's a moment someone tries to solve a specific problem, and then they getting pushed in the sales conversation, which can happen much later. So you're so right saying like the speed is so crucial, and being able to provide the information they're looking for at this specific time is really the key versus creating new content or trying to do it better every time. You just need to be very precise with your information and your time. So, and that is a part of the product experience really from that initial point, or for the existing clients too.
Yeah, and I think the funnel, I know maybe in 10 years we won't be talking about the funnel anymore. I mean, there's a lot of commentary and theories out there about the funnel's dead and all of these things. And so I think the way we also look at when to engage, how can we have things that are more automated and intentional about buyer triggered actions and things like that is absolutely where we're focusing on now too. Just having more intelligent interactions with customers and potential customers, really leveraging our install base more. Again, I think that is something that in many cases doesn't cost a lot of money, and we don't do enough to expand within our current base and really drive up the multiplier in terms of products installed at current accounts too, and go deeper into those businesses. So it's you really have to be looking at every potential angle of your current install base as well as new buyers.
Guys are really big on a partner program. That's kind of one of the fundamental things, and you're such a great partner. So but you have to constantly rethink this and saying, what does it mean right now, especially incentives and benefits. What's the biggest mistake SaaS companies make with the channel incentives, and how you approaching it differently, Catherine?
This is another one of those plus areas for me where the partner program team has recently moved into my organization, and it's not a new space for me. I had a huge responsibility on supporting the IBM Partner World program when I was there, and others since I've left. And the thing is, we have a very complex role in the ecosystem. We are a major partner and marketplace player for the Atlassian business, right? So in that sense, we are a partner. We also are, have the benefit of this incredible ecosystem that is supporting bringing our apps and our own IP to market. And so there's a balance, right, between all the different partner types. What does value look like for us, for Atlassian, for those other resellers and solution providers, GSIs, right? And the truth is, value looks very different for each one of those businesses. And as things are changing, which is happening very quickly in the tech world, right? Like you even see, you can't get it through a conversation. I don't know. We're like 15 minutes into this interview and I'm just saying AI. But it's everywhere, right? Or did I say it earlier? I may have dropped the AI bomb earlier. But the pace at which innovation is changing and our partners need to keep up with having something to put in front of a customer that is incenting them that they will be on the forefront of what's happening is hard. It's really hard. And so the way we structure our program framework, our benefits, our incentives have to align both with the behavior that we want to see our partners doing, but they also have to respond to what the voice of the customer is saying. And one of the things that we are very focused on now is increasing our NPS and CSAT surveying capability to be able to provide our partners with more insights around what our customers are saying, what is their experience, not just with the product, but the full buyer journey, everything from support to, onboarding and all of these things. So that is our responsibility to be able to provide that feedback, to partners, as well as helping them to bring our products to market through co-marketing and incenting their sales team to pay more attention to Appfire products than maybe some of the others. So it's very complex, that two-tier go-to-market, and we love our partners. And that space is evolving very quickly as we are all also very much tied and aligned to the direction of Atlassian as an example, right? So it's very complicated. We actually have our partner advisory council meeting happening in June, and keeping those touch points with partners, being able to respond quickly and flexibly to the benefits and things they need from us to do better is critically important. So we're looking forward to that event as well, being able to speak with them directly for 3 days about how we can support them better.
So one question came up while we're talking about this, Catherine.
Yeah.
With so much complexity, and it really is, like, if you understand this world, you will understand, like, there's layers upon layers and there's more complexity. How do you keep this simple? Like, what's your mental frame of, let me keep this simple without going into, too deep or too many directions? Like, how do you keep it simple for yourself and when you communicate with others?
Well, I'll tell you, live a day in my brain, Alex, and you'll know it's not simple. The crazy that happens in there. But I do think that we have to be focused in the approach, especially around go-to-market, especially on our portfolio strategy. Where do we see follow the sun model, right? On looking ahead for our partners that are more focused on maybe the day-to-day than what's coming and how to anticipate change. I think a lot of what we are looking to do with our partners now is give them insight into, okay, what does our innovation roadmap look like? Like, where are we seeing the market go? How do we get them closer to the thinking from analysts in the community about where to shift everything from resources to compensation and all of that? So what we try to do is say, like, how can we do some of that heavy lifting for our partners and provide them with the strategy, the focus that they can bring to their own go-to-market, and making it really easy for them. Here are the places we engage. Here is where we are looking to understand, progress in the business and the metrics that we are holding them accountable for, and being very transparent with them at all of these different touch points without overwhelming them, right? Because we know those partners also have other partners, and that's something that I think sometimes vendors forget. Like, you may not be the only partner that they are working with. So standing out is hugely important.
Let's talk about teams and team alignment. So sales, marketing, and CX alignment is talked about a lot, but rarely done well. And that's always ongoing. Even with your broader scope, where does it still break and why?
So I will tell you that we just got a new CRO, and no one is happier than me to have him here with us at Appfire. And we've been talking a lot about this, right? Anywhere there's a handoff between teams and a shift of accountability or understanding even on what the SLA is, like the expectations around feedback and things like that. I believe that the modernization of the marketing function and how technologically advanced we are now in a lot of what we do, and the expectation from the buyer, time is our enemy. So if we are not acting critically fast on follow-ups and things, like, for example, many of our trials are 30 days. Okay, well, don't be waiting until day 29. We've already lost the opportunity to convert that buyer. So really having that fast automation, those catchers who are knowledgeable, have been enabled, have the materials they need to engage with that potential customer, is usually where it falls apart, right? And so I think the partnership with the CRO or the head of sales on having a joint management system on shared metrics and accountability, and making sure that both sides have a clear understanding of what's going on, is something that I am really excited about, having some new leadership in place, but also the understanding of what's happening before that comes over the fence. I think because the marketing discipline has evolved so significantly in the last, let's call it 10, 15 years, there may not be an understanding of that on the opposite side of the fence, right? And even some of the metrics and things we're looking at now, it's not just here's your MQL, right? There's so much behind that. And sometimes it's difficult to, in a Salesforce record, as an example, really give the full picture of what's happened with this particular persona that we are sending over to you. Like, there's been tons of nurture. We've engaged with them on multiple platforms and display ads and forums and all of these things. So I think the complexity of how that opportunity has been passed to them and the context around it is getting more and more challenging.
Yeah, definitely. And so reminds me of something. I talked to a podcast guest recently about the revenue culture. So when teams do not feel safe flagging problems, the data get distorted. SDRs do not disqualify leads because they're worried about giving up on the prospects. Sales doesn't push back on lead quality because they don't want to seem like they're making excuses. Marketing doesn't visit targeting because the MQL numbers look fine, and everybody keeps operating on the wrong assumptions.
Right.
I see this break alignment more than any structural or process issue. The mechanics of alignments are not actually that complicated. You need shared metrics and shared data and trust. But the mechanics only work in a culture where each team say, this is not working, without it becoming a bigger issue, and everybody communicates and trusts each other in a healthy way.
For sure. And we have to also keep in mind that there are certain machine interventions now that have not been present in the past around lead qualification, scoring. We have bots managing certain parts of the sales cycle now that are new, and everyone has to have a greater understanding of that. And I always say, like, if it's a bad lead, like, let us know, right? Like, if it's a bad lead, we're totally fine knowing that, but you have to tell us why. Give us the voice of the customer. Tell us, like, what went sideways, what didn't work in the messaging and the scripting we gave. I'm okay. That's learning for us, right? I would have liked for it to result in an opportunity, but if it didn't, that's okay too, as long as we learn something from it.
Yeah, no, you said marketing, but the whole GTM discipline changed so much even in the 3
Right?
months, and you like
It's
bots and
wild.
managing leads. I'm like,
It's true, right?
yeah, it is. No, it is so true. But it's just if you go years back, and you're like, what do you mean? Like that
Oh
just
yeah.
sounds
I have some
different.
peers, Alex, that are fully taking out inside
Mm,
sellers, right? BDRs, SDRs, and they're putting in, AI resources to fulfill that role. I mean, that is the reality of some of these things. Now, in many cases, it might be a hybrid, but it's changing, like, seemingly
mm,
overnight sometimes, where you're like,
yeah.
oh my gosh, are we behind? Like, should we be doing more?
Catherine, you got a lot of demand gen motion happening at once. How do you evaluate it, and what tells you what's working?
Mm-hmm. For our business, and listen, I think any CMO would say organic, results yield better. It's a better investment of time for sure. So we are always making sure we understand where the headroom is, right, against that organic investment level. Where do we still have opportunity, and where have we maxed out, where we need to bring in the paid dollars. I think that's the first thing, is understanding across your portfolio,
Mm,
where is there still opportunity, where you need dollars, and then focusing there. For us, the paid piece, obviously engagement's important, but a trial sign up is better, especially in our space, right? For SaaS, that is for us the first leading indicator that we have interest, and then the second is conversion. So for me, the performance of a paid ad, as an example, is not as important to me as what happened after that. So I'm really pushing the team on, like, hey, great, like, love the clicks and things like that. If you got them to a product page, fantastic. But did they ask for a demo? Did they sign up for
mm,
a free trial? That is success to me. And then a step further, did they convert from a free user to being a paid user? So you have to have the whole picture. You can't look at a tactic, just alone, because it doesn't really tell you. You could have all of the fantastic paid activity in the world and nothing ever come from it, right? If it's not working.
yeah, you definitely have to look at the whole picture, especially in complex sales where multi-touch, multi-buyer journey, and everything is working together. So you definitely need to see a big picture. So we have one question. We kind of run through every theme for this year, so to say, but I think I'm going to tweak this a little bit. If you had to bet on one growth lever going into 2026, what would it be? But my tweak is you cannot say AI.
Okay. Uh, hmm. I think that's a tough one. I think uniquely for us, because our route to market strategy is probably very different than many, where a huge amount of our revenue comes from our ecosystem.
Mm,
And we are also doing quite a bit of what I would call direct to marketplace revenue that is really purely driven by my team on the marketing and digital side. I think the area for us that we need to do better at is getting closer to the customer on our side, where we are bringing the expertise around our own innovation directly to the customer, as opposed to going through the partner. So really working more two in a box with those accounts. So it may feel a bit old school, but enablement for us is huge going into this year. I think we do quite a bit to educate our customers, but sometimes we fall short of educating the ones who are really in front of the customer at the end of the day. And that needs to be together. So our partners and our sales teams are hearing the same message at the same time and are able to react in a faster way and much more informed. So having specific content availability for them in an easy to leverage format that is always real-time updated. We're investing in quite a few tools to be able to do that, which make it easier for that customer success manager to have at their fingertips the feedback that just came out from the survey with that customer, or the partner to understand how to quickly get a demo for their meeting. I think the pace is picking up, and making sure all of those routes have the same information and content that is updated at the same time, so there is no variance in our messaging and market.
That's a great advice. I honestly love that, and that's a great approach. Catherine, great interview. Thank you so much. I have one last question for you.
I'm ready.
Who were your mentors and the best advice they gave you?
Oh gosh, I have had the benefit of having some of the most wonderful mentors. And I think the other thing that is unique is they have been across the business. I have had chief digital officers, I've had CMOs as mentors, I've had great peer mentors. And I think, and my team would probably agree, as a senior leader in an organization, having a process and a framework and an approach to what I call with my team an operating model has really given me a repeatable way of joining a new team, doing transformation with my organization, having templates that I can lean on time and time again on how to look at organizational structure, on how to approach let's call it an acquisition or any kind of new launch. I have built up my own repository of assets that help me quickly adapt to change. And that was a piece of advice very early on I got in my career from a mentor who said, the more you build up your own way of working and the more transparent you can be with your teams about what to expect from you, how you like to work with them, how they like to work with you, has been invaluable. And it's made it much easier to drive change within my organizations.